live on a cloudy and rainy Tuesday morning. Welcome on into the bullpen. I am your host, Adam the Bull, and we got a lot to get to today. A lot to talk about. The Cavs trying to avoid elimination at the hands of the Pacers tonight. Game 4, we'll get into that. The Guardians, after a bad Saturday and Sunday with a nice bounce-back win against a very good pitcher in Freddie Garcia yesterday. And, of course, we'll talk about the Browns. A lot of news involving the Browns, including special guest today. He was a Browns draft pick in 2016. He was a fan favorite for the 4 years he was here. He went to a Pro Bowl, made a lot of tackles. You see it right there. Former Browns linebacker Joe Schobert will be in the bullpen in just a couple of minutes. So that's all coming up on today's podcast. But speaking of linebackers, we begin with the news that broke late yesterday, and that's the unfortunate news when it comes to JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the Browns linebacker, who, you know, as a rookie, it's been a fascinating ride with JOK. His rookie year, he was okay. He was JOK. Sorry, that was cheesy. He showed promise. It felt like, even coming into the draft, a lot of people was like, how do you use this guy? He's an unusual body type, but he's a great athlete. And everybody was kind of unsure what to do with him. And he had an okay rookie year. And, and then his second season was a total disaster. An absolute disaster. He was horrible. He looked unplayable. We were talking, our good buddy DeQuell Jackson, another Browns former linebacker, said the Browns should probably cut him, move on from him. We were all like, this guy can't do it. He can't play. He's not a linebacker. Then in year 3, the most incredible turnaround you've ever seen. The guy went from year 2, where he looked unplayable, to year 3, where he looked like the best linebacker in football. He made the Pro Bowl. He was tremendous. It was just outstanding. The Browns go to the playoffs. He's a big factor in that in 23. He was probably their second best defensive player behind Myles Garrett. Some people were trying to argue he was their most important player. He was extremely he made so many plays. He gets a new contract, deservedly so. Last year, he gets off to a fine start, and then he has an injury. And at the time, we didn't know. I remember, like, after the game, it didn't seem like he was seriously hurt. It was kind of a mystery what happened to him. And then he was out for a while, and then he misses the rest of the season. And we realized somewhere along the line, the Browns, kind of shared a little bit, but the Browns have obviously been very cagey about this situation. And JOK misses the rest of the season. And now the Browns, as I said, just announcing yesterday that this neck injury is going to keep him out after missing most of last season. He will miss all of this season. Obviously, his career is in jeopardy. Who knows if he'll ever play again? More importantly, from a human standpoint, we wish Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah the best of luck, the best of health. And we'll talk about, injuries with Joe Schobert and, careers. That's why I never can blame a player when they want to try to make as much money as they can. It's easy for us as fans to say the player's being greedy, the player's not being loyal, whatever you want to say. Oh, isn't it enough money? These guys are making so much money. But football in particular, folks, and if you've watched football for any length of time, you know this. But sometimes we don't. A situation like this makes it more real. But that's why you can't blame players for making as much as they can. The average career is 3 years. A lot of guys get serious injuries. Even if even if they don't have a career-ending injury, we've seen so many guys that have played football and they're just a mess physically for the rest of their lives. And so you can't hold it against any player that wants to try to make every last dollar. That I think we'd all do the same. So, listen, from a human standpoint, nothing but the best for JOK. Whether he ever plays or not, obviously, I'm sure he'd love to play. We'd all love to watch him play again. But from a human standpoint, hopefully the future is bright for him and these injuries that he's dealing with, that at the very least, well, not at the very least, but that he'll be okay in life and football will be another thing. All right, I want to get some comments from the fans here. Finding Peace says, how old are you, Adam? I am going to turn 54 on June 4th. Birthday right around the corner. Not that, I mean, the birthdays at this point are depressing, but it's better than the alternative. You don't want to be, the alternative is death. So, let's see. 05 Adams around 50 to 53. You're right. Good call. 53. Soon to be 54. Good morning, Jimmy. Anyone else believe the Cavs win tonight? I'll talk about the Cavs after we talk to Joe Schobert. You thought I was 40 finding peace. I appreciate that. I wish I was 40 and not about to turn 54. Jimmy W. says, Bulls only 26, Cleveland Sports Agency. That's funny. That's funny. All right, so we'll leave it there for now. One other thing I wanted to hit on, thank you, D-Lee. I appreciate that everybody thought I was a little younger than I am. I try to keep it young if I can. Sometimes I'm an old curmudgeon, but I try to keep it young. One other thing I wanted to hit on the Browns before we get to Joe Schobert, who's going to join us here shortly, and then get to the Cavs after. Browns rookie minicamp. You see the banner right up there. So Zach Jackson, remember last year when a lot of the people in the media were going on and on about how good Deshaun Watson looked, and Zach Jackson kept saying, he looks like crap, he's not good, blah, 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 blah. And he was right, and everybody else was wrong. People were criticizing him. Oh, he's full of it. The other guy. Zach was right. So when it comes to looking at these quarterbacks and seeing who's doing what, I trust Zach as much, if not more, than all the people that cover this team, especially from that specific angle of it. And he said on UCSS yesterday that Shedeur Sanders, in terms of just throwing the ball, looked night and day better than Dylan Gabriel. Now, as Zach will tell you, and anybody else will tell you, you got to calm down when it comes to getting too excited about. I get it. We all want to get excited about the next quarterback of the Browns. And if Shedeur Sanders ends up being a steal in the 5th round, which he seems to be, which he could potentially be. I shouldn't say seems to be. There's nothing seems to be yet. Which he could potentially be. Then that's amazing, and we'll all be excited about it. But we have to calm down a bit. We can't get too excited about what's going on in T-shirts and shorts. There's no pass rush. There's no pressure. There's no thought of getting hit. So very little, if anything, of what we see on the field right now matters in terms of fans and media being able to evaluate. Very little, if nothing. It's certainly valuable reps for the players and valuable for the team, but in terms of our ability to grasp who's doing what, it's hard. But like I said, I trust Zach a lot, and he said that Shedeur, it was not close, that he looked like the much better thrower of the football. Again, no pads, no pressure, no nothing. Take it with a massive grain of salt. But Zach is on this better than anybody. So I thought that was a little eye-opening, and usually I find nothing eye-opening this time of year. All right, that's another thing we got to talk to Joe Schobert about, because Joe lives in Colorado now. What is he doing? We'll talk about that with him in a sec. But Joe lives in Colorado, so obviously he's had a lot of chance to see Shedeur Sanders. So much to get into with Joe. Again, after the interview, Joe, we'll talk about tonight a little bit with the Cavs and wrap with the Guardians as well. But, of course, I am very excited about our guest. All right, joining us now in the bullpen is Joe Schobert. Joe was obviously a fan favorite in his time in Cleveland. He was always really nice to me when we do interviews down on the field, and I know he's a big Marvel guy like I am. We'll see if he's still into that now that he's retired. Maybe he has more time, although I don't know. Joe, it's good to see you. How are you? Thanks for joining me.
I'm doing well. I got Thunderbolt tickets for this Wednesday, so I'm still going, still going
All
to
right,
Marvel
well,
movies.
I'm not going to spoil it for you. I'll just say that I saw it, and I thought it was one of the better Marvel movies because the movies haven't been quite as good lately, but I thought this one was really good. But no
Yeah,
spoilers for me.
exactly. That's why I heard it was. I heard it was a really good movie.
Yeah,
They've been kind of, yeah, like you said, dropping off a little bit. So I only go and see
yeah,
the ones that I hear are really good in theaters.
I got you.
Let's catch up with
So,
the rest of them on Disney Plus.
yeah, right. It's so easy to just watch at home. Hey, Joe, I know when I was looking up, when we tried to get you on last week and you said you'd come on, I was like, I know Joe's retired. What's he up to? And so I obviously looked into it, and I see that you and your wife own a dance studio. And I
hmm
remember back in the day that I knew your wife was involved professionally with dance, but she's not the only one dancing. You're a dancer too, apparently.
I mean, I wouldn't call myself a dancer. I sit at the front desk, and
Yeah.
the dance moms uh, don't talk back as much to a man at the front desk. So I sit there and I answer questions. I teach one class which tries to help our dancers learn how to jump and land and get stronger feet and ankles, but that's about it. That's
Right.
about my area of expertise.
It's cool though because obviously you had your career in the NFL and you still have a long way to go in life. And now that you're doing something that your wife is really passionate about, that's really awesome. Is it going well for you guys?
Yeah, definitely. We're out here in Colorado, and it's just
Yeah.
lots of stuff to do outdoors. The dance studio is flexible in terms that it doesn't start till about 4 o'clock at night, so you got a lot of time during the days to go and enjoy activities, and then go to the studio, and the studio's doing well.
Do you miss playing at all?
I didn't until I think the last like bowl season playoffs this last year. I started missing it a little
Yeah.
bit and getting the competitiveness gone. I don't miss training camp. Every year training camp comes around, I don't miss it yet. But when it gets to like playoff time, I'm starting to miss it a little bit. Yeah.
Right. You came to the Browns as a rookie in 2016. Obviously, the team was really bad. You guys went 1-15 that first year, 0-16 the next year. You won a lot of games previous to coming to the Browns. How hard was that with all the losing you endured in your 4 years here in Cleveland?
Yeah. I mean, the first 2 years obviously were the least two successful years I think any NFL franchise has had back to
Yep.
back. Just to just get thrown into that fire, it was obviously tough because you feel like you're working really hard. You feel like you're individually like trying to make improvements and you're getting better. And then
Yeah.
on Sundays on the field, the results would not go our way, whether it was uh, overtime loss or a fumble in the wrong spot or, just bad football at bad, inopportune times. It just always seemed to go the other way. And I do think about that from time to time. Like we would have been better, like in my first 2 years or first 4 years, like if
Yeah.
I'd still be playing or if I would have enjoyed it more. But obviously, those first two rough years made the 7-8-1 third season. Feel like we won the Super Bowl. We were fighting for a playoff spot the last week of the season. And the
Yeah.
fans, the Bud Light fridges were opened up that season. So there
Yeah.
was good vibes around the whole city. We turned it around, and that made it feel even that much more special when we did start to win games.
When that 18 season when Baker gets drafted and you guys have he comes in that Monday night game and the team's playing so much better. Would you have? I mean, are you surprised that it ultimately didn't work out for Baker in Cleveland? And obviously, he's turned it around after a couple of tough years, and he's played really well in Tampa the last 2 years. But knowing how it started and how bad the quarterback play had been before Baker, are you surprised that the Browns moved on from him?
Yes and no. I'm surprised because he did, just with Cleveland's history of quarterbacks, even if you have one down year, it's not like you should just move on to the next available. Like the teams that are successful are the teams that are consistent for the long term in the
Yeah,
NFL. But at the same time, it's a results business, and every single owner is competing against each other, and they want their team to be the best. They want it to flip now. They want immediate success, even though sometimes that's not how it goes. So I've seen a lot of crazy things in the league. So I would say that's where the no. I'm not surprised that it happens, but
yeah,
just from a football player and see what Baker did, and knowing Cleveland's history, I'm surprised they did go, because he went to the playoffs and beat the Steelers in the week before, the first game of the playoffs the year before that all that stuff
Right.
went down. So I think you would at least get a little grace period with that. But then again, like one down year, NFL stands for
Yeah,
not for long, so
that's
you never
true.
know.
You played with Nick Chubb, of course, for 2 years.
Yep.
It's going to be so weird to see Nick Chubb wearing another uniform. He hasn't signed with anybody yet, but and it's tough. As well as anybody that just injuries can just destroy a career. It's happened to a million football players, unfortunately. What's it going to look like to you when I assume Nick Chubb gets in with another team, seeing him in another uniform?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to look strange, but
Yeah.
as somebody who played on multiple teams, like from Nick's perspective, it's just you got to go about and do your job and do your business, and
Yeah.
like take the fact that you didn't come back and because of the injuries as motivation to train and get better, get your knee back healthy, and go out and prove. Hopefully, from his perspective, prove the Browns wrong. But you can also see it from the organization perspective when they've had a few big knee injuries at a position that's known for wear and tear and going downhill fast after a few years, to go and move in a different direction. But I mean, Nick's one of my favorite teammates I ever had. He's just a great guy. He's somebody that there's always good vibes in the building. He's going to work his butt
Yeah.
off. No complaints, no words ever. We used to compete for the same stretch coach in between before practice, and you're supposed to sign up on lists, and I would always jump him. We had a little back and forth there, but I wish him nothing but the best going to wherever he's going to end up. It's going to be hard to see, especially if he starts playing well again.
You obviously had great success in Cleveland individually. You made the Pro Bowl. You had 1 million tackles every year. I know a lot of fans were disappointed. A lot of media members, too, were disappointed that, you ended up leaving. What happened there, and why do you think it didn't work out with you staying at the Browns?
Yeah, I think just a weird confluence of different things. Linebackers wasn't really as valued anymore,
Mm-hmm.
or still isn't as valued as it was. The GMs, John Dorsey left like
Yeah.
a couple of months before my fourth season ended, and Andrew Berry came in. And so, like, any negotiations that had happened, which with John Dorsey, there was really no negotiations. Like, I kept asking my agent and him and talking back and forth, and I just never hear back about anything, about a new contract or contract extension or anything. And then when Andrew Berry came in, it's like, play the market, like, go see what you're worth. And I went out and saw stuff, and then I just never heard anything from Cleveland side. So it was just kind of the way things went. But I'll always be thankful for the 4 years I had there, the good start, even though individually it was a good start, even though as a team we were kind of rough. But it really puts things into perspective when you do start achieving like success. Like I said, in our third season, and then going on making playoffs on a different team and stuff. But that's kind of just how it all played out.
Man, this sport could be, all sports are like this, but football in particular, where the contracts often aren't guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of quarterbacks or maybe, your rookie contract, whatever. It is a cold game, and fans want – it's funny because – and I get it. Fans want the players to be loyal because fans love the team, but teams are not loyal to players. At any opportunity, if they don't feel like you're worth whatever you're getting paid, they're quick to not be loyal themselves. So it's a business. It's unfortunate, but that's just part of the game for everybody.
Yeah, it's kind of like the sports statistics thing coming in. Everybody's trying to create an edge here or there, everybody. When you got a rookie quarterback who's the real deal and he's on your rookie deal, you go all in on all these expensive older guys. But then when second contracts come around, you got to fudge the numbers here and there and figure things out. So it's just it's a game. And like when I went to Jacksonville, I signed a 5-year deal, and you know what? Our coaching staff and GM got fired. I got traded. Mm-hmm. And you know what wasn't guaranteed? It wasn't guaranteed more than 2 years. So Pittsburgh didn't have to honor anything. So as soon as that contract played out, I was moving on to the next spot, So it is different.
Obviously you grew up in Wisconsin. You went to Wisconsin. How did you end up in Colorado and not Wisconsin, I guess?
Yeah. My wife didn't like cold weather. I wanted to be by the mountains,
Yeah,
somewhere out west. I love skiing and hiking and
yeah,
fishing and doing stuff like that. And like we wanted to open the dance studio in Denver area, just with the population
right.
growth that they've experienced. Just seemed like a good spot to start a new business, especially a service-based business. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how we settled out there.
How do you, when you look at the Big Ten, somebody today, I guess somebody put out their top 25 for this coming season in college football, and
Hmm.
one of the local reporters was like, "Yeah, 4 Big Ten teams in the top 10," and I was like, "The Big Ten's got 30 teams now, so of course they better have 4 in the top 10." What do you
Yeah.
think of what the Big Ten looks like now with all these West Coast teams? Do you like it, or do you want to go back to kind of the way it was in a perfect world?
I like it. I
Okay.
like I like the nostalgia of the old Big Ten and the old teams, but I like
Yeah.
seeing any given week you can get a Ohio State, Oregon, a Washington, Penn State, a Wisconsin, USC, a UCLA, Iowa. Like you're gonna get a good game every week, no matter what. Especially as like a neutral fan,
Mm-hmm.
'cause there's a lot of times when you in the past with like Ohio State's playing Indiana. No offense,
Right.
Indiana had a great year last year, but in the past, and Wisconsin playing Purdue and
Yeah.
Rutgers and Penn State are playing. Like there's no marquee games, there's no marquee matchups. Like it's uh it's fun as a neutral. Like if Wisconsin doesn't have a good game, I can go flip on Ohio State,
Right.
Oregon, Michigan, yeah,
Yeah.
Penn State, whatever. There's just a lot more chances of good games. And then like, last year, I think proved it. There was a lot of good football and a lot of good games being played, a lot of entertaining college games.
When the playoffs started, did you think the Buckeyes were going to win the national championship?
I thought they had a chance for sure.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, definitely interesting. Once Georgia kind of dropped the ball, I would have thought Georgia was the favorite
Yeah.
starting, but obviously it didn't play out that way. And like once you got the national championship game, Ohio State was on a roll. They were playing well. Kind of took that Michigan loss and used it as motivation, which is the best thing you can do from a loss
Yeah.
like that. So they turned the table and they started scoring a lot of points.
When you're growing up as a kid, are you? I mean, I know he's not that much older than you, but older enough. Like, are you looking up to Joe Thomas, and then you get to play with him, or because he was an offensive lineman, were you not that locked into him in college?
I mean, I wasn't that locked into him, but as
Yeah.
a kid growing up in Wisconsin, you idolize the Badger football players. Like
Sure.
that's the peak of the state. It goes, yeah. High school, you look up to your high school guys, you look up to your Badger
Yeah.
guys, and then the Packers are right above that. So
Mm-hmm.
the Badgers are almost on that Packer pedestal when you're growing up, and anybody who was good at Wisconsin, I loved following. And like from Jim Leonard to Joe Thomas, and then with J.J. Watts and Erasmus James and those kind of guys, just a lot of football players. And I, as a fan of football as well, I was so
Yeah.
into it, following them in their careers, and as a
Yeah.
kid growing up, trying to do the same thing myself.
Did you? Were you a Brewers fan and a Bucks fan as well? And are you still?
I'm not a huge baseball fan, but if I was
Okay.
if I cheered for a team, it would be the Brewers.
Yeah.
I like going to like 1 or 2 games a year because the Brewers tailgating is basically undefeated. I know the
Nice.
Mooney Lot in Cleveland is something else, but you got to go to
Yeah.
Miller Park and go check out a Brewer game sometime for tailgating. It's top of the line. But yeah, I'm still a Bucks fan, and they've been disappointing me the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But you can't really complain after they won a NBA championship in 2021, which is so
No.
fun to watch. But you just see all the potential that they have, and they just cannot put the pieces together since that title run.
Mentioned, of course, a couple times that you're in Colorado now, where Shador Sanders just finished his college career. It was a bizarre draft for the Browns. They draft 2 quarterbacks, Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon and Shador Sanders. They brought Joe Flacco back. They traded for Kenny Pickett. What do you think of this Browns quarterback situation, and specifically about Shador? What's your thoughts on him and like what you saw from him in college?
Yeah, I mean the Colorado Buffaloes out here were very fun to watch the last 2 years. They didn't always play the best football, but they played fun football.
Yeah,
He's out there slinging. He can make all the throws. You could tell. It's just how is it going to translate to the NFL level? There's just a lot more
right.
thinking that has to go on. Some guys can make it, some guys can't. And same with like Dylan Gabriel. Just going from college to the league, you just got to see the guys who can make that step. And some guys are born for it and can do it, and some guys can't when they get thrown into the fire. But
Yeah.
with like five quarterbacks in the room, 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the room. I
Yeah.
think as long as you handle it right and create an actual good competition and give people their chances, like it could be very good for the team. But at the same time, if you don't handle it right and some guys don't get good enough reps or don't get good enough coaching, and then they fall by the wayside, even though they're talented, they just don't get the looks because there's only so many looks to go around.
Yeah.
It could be detrimental just because there's 5 guys to try to spread the looks out to. So it's a game you got to play. you got
Yeah.
to the quarterback's got to take the most of the looks that they get, and the coaches got to be able to spread them in a way. Like, I mean, with Joe Flacco, you know what he's going to be able to do. He's been
Yep.
doing it for a long time, so like they just got to play it right and be able to see who's going to be the best fit for the team this year.
Considering that Flacco was the Ravens quarterback, he won a Super Bowl with the Ravens. I mean, Browns fans hate the Ravens, you know that, hate the Steelers. And then Joe Flacco comes in here a couple of years ago. He's thrown like 1,000 touchdowns. He's thrown for like 350 yards a game at 39, 38, whatever the heck he was 2 years ago, and just takes over Cleveland. Like, he got huge there for 6 weeks and obviously didn't end well in the playoffs. But
Yeah.
from afar, what was that like, watching that excitement that everybody had for Joe Flacco that year?
Yeah, I loved it. Joe was slinging the ball, and it's kind of like
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers in Indy when his arm was gone, but he was still just throwing the ball, just saying
Yep.
somebody's over. Like, I know somebody should be there. It was just seeing a little gunslinger action, which I feel like fits the Cleveland mold of what you want as
Yeah.
your quarterback. You want to have a little bit of a gunslinger kind of vibe. And it was just great. And obviously the team was winning, and it was exciting to see the playoff push through that. So, I mean, if you can recapture that magic, obviously it'd be good for the city, it'd be good for the team. But there's, like you said, there's a lot of options in that room, and who knows, maybe somebody else will take up that mantle.
Travis Hunter, we all wanted the Browns to take him at 2. Unfortunately, they traded down. I understand they got a lot of draft picks, but we'll see what he does in Jacksonville. Do you believe? I'm rooting for him. I want to see somebody be able to do something we've never seen before, play both ways on a regular basis. Do you believe he can do it?
No, but I want to see him do it.
Right.
It's just seeing him in person, he's just not big. And
Right.
to take the beatings as a receiver, if you're catching the ball coming across the middle from some of the safeties coming downhill or the D lineman retracing and then going to play defense on the other side, it's just super physically demanding. And he already got hurt in college a few times, playing both of the seasons at Colorado. He got hurt in both seasons. So I just don't believe that he can. But if he proves me wrong, I would be the happiest person. It'd be awesome to see an athlete like that go out and do. Because when he's healthy and he's playing his best ball, he's one of the most electrifying guys out there. It's just how is the body going to hold up? And just having been through it and seeing kind of his stuff from college, NFL's a brutal game. And I mean, if you're somebody like Nick Chubb, who's just a powerhouse of a person, can get hurt consistently playing one side of the ball, it's gonna be hard for a guy like that. So, but who knows?
Yeah, you never know. Any interest in coaching, Joe, on any level?
I've started doing a little bit of high school work here and there out here in Colorado, but probably not much higher than that. At least right now, I like my free time too much to commit myself to be a college or NFL coach.
That's sweet.
There's way too much stuff that they have to do throughout the week that I do not want to do. I like sleeping 8 hours every night, and you're not sleeping 8 hours if you're a coach.
Do you keep up? Are you still working out a lot, or have you backed off since you finished playing?
I still work out quite a bit. I just changed from pure strength and power to just more maintaining, so I can go and play basketball and go hiking and go skiing and not get injured when I'm doing that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Have you seen how skinny Joe Thomas is now? It's ridiculous. He's crazy skinny.
I mean, he was always a guy. He was never a fat offensive lineman. He was a muscular guy. But he's it's better for your body to be that skinny. And he had a good thing about him. He's got so much muscle on, so he loses some of the muscle. He's still going to look more ripped than everybody else.
That's true. Good for him. All right, couple of rapid fire ones, Joe, to wrap it up. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Best teammate ever, or one of your best teammates ever with the Browns?
Either Carl Nassib or Seth the Valve.
Why those guys?
just best friends, came into the league together, hung out all the time. Like I go see them still all the time these days. We catch up and just good dudes.
And Carl, of course, was the first player to come out once, he was already in the league. And I was listening to an interview with him recently. It was fascinating how he said, like, everybody supported him and was really cool. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think NFL locker room is just like a microscopic view of the whole world. Like it's the exact same percentages of people, good, bad, indifferent, in the locker room as the whole world, and most people in the whole world really don't care. So
That's
as
true.
long as you can go out and do your job,
that's it.
Go do your job. Yep.
Do what you got to do. All right, you're in an alley. You're about to get into a fight. What teammate do you want with you?
Again, I'd take Carl.
Okay.
He's crazy. I remember one time we went to Gary Barnes' Halloween party.
Yeah.
And we had our Uber ride home, and I had to try to get him out of the vehicle at the end of our house. And when he didn't want to get moved anywhere, he's just a big guy and strong.
Yeah.
And he's a little crazy, so he's gonna scare people just with his with his just overall vibe.
All right, maybe this is going to be him too. I don't know, but you're in a pizza eating contest. Who do you want to be your teammate for that? Of your teammates?
Pizza eating contest.
Yeah.
I mean, you could pick any of the offensive linemen.
That's true.
Like maybe
Batonio.
Joe.
Yeah, Batonio.
I'd say Well, Joe not anymore. Even back then, I never saw Joe just wolfing down. I mean, I never saw Joel wolfing down a ton of stuff anyway. But Joe Batonio, Spencer Drango, one of the rookies who came in offensive lineman.
I remember him.
Yeah, some guy like that.
Who was the best dressed teammate you played with?
Best dressed. It's between like Tyrod Taylor, OBJ, Jarvis Landry. Like those guys are always dressed to the nines when we're getting on the team plane. So one of those guys.
Speaking of which, OBJ, there was always so much controversy with him, but everybody I've spoken to said he was a great teammate. Was he a great teammate for you?
Yeah, I sat next to him in team meetings. Like he was an awesome dude, and he always went out of his way to be a part of the team, and he got the whole team gifts multiple times, and he never, like, all the media like reports you'd always hear about somebody said this, somebody said that. Like he was never saying that kind of stuff. He was just in there working, getting better, trying to produce for the team. I mean, when he first came to Cleveland, he had basically a torn groin he played on all year. Like you catch 1,000 yards receiving with a torn groin, like it's pretty impressive. And as a guy in the building, you saw him working to just be able to play on Sundays, so you appreciated the work that went into it.
And finally, if you could only watch one Marvel movie for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
Either Captain America: Winter Soldier or Endgame.
I mean, those are two of the best, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to top Endgame. I mean, that was just so good.
I mean, like Infinity War, obviously, too, but then you'd always be wondering what's next. But then Love and Thunder also came to mind, but it's kind of like a one-off. Yeah. But I'm more of a Cap guy than a Thor guy, even though Love and Thunder was amazing.
I agree with you. I like Civil War. Civil War would be near the top.
Or I mean Ragnarok, not Love and Thunder.
Oh, right. Thor Ragnarok. Yes, that was the last one.
Yeah, but I'm a Captain and Bucky guy.
There you go. All right, Joe, I appreciate the time, man. Best of luck. Hey, if we have folks that are in Colorado, I don't know how much of our audience is in Colorado, but if they happen to be in your area, tell them about the dance studio and how they can join. Yeah,
it's Showtime Dance Center, spelled SCHO time.
Yeah,
it's down in Castle Rock, Colorado, and just you can find us online. You get a free trial. Come on, dance. If you're an adult, you can go do our adult hip hop classes at 7:00 on Thursday nights, and it'll be a good workout. So we're always there. Hit us up.
And where is Castle Rock in relation to Denver?
30 minutes south of Denver.
Okay, cool.
It's basically I'd say it's basically like Medina to Cleveland,
Gotcha. That makes sense. Joe, really appreciate the time, man. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. It's always good to talk.
Great talking with Joe Schobert. It was always awesome to talk with him back when he was on the Browns. Gave you the history of how he ended up leaving the team. He's in Colorado. He's teaching dance. Well, his wife's mostly teaching dance, and he's mostly intimidating people at the front desk. I'm going to take you behind the curtain a little bit, folks. I actually, that interview with Joe, I actually interviewed him yesterday afternoon, which is why I asked him about JOK, because the news on JOK broke after I spoke with him. But the main reason I wanted to spill the beans about that interview being yesterday afternoon and not actually live this morning is that we use the software to do interviews. And at the end of the interview, whenever I'm taping an interview beforehand, I tell the guest, "Hey, do me a favor, when the interview's over, just stand by like 30 seconds to a minute, because the interview has to download. My end of it has to download, and then the guest interview has to download. And usually it takes 30 seconds, a minute, maybe even less. Almost never more than that. Joe, when he's in Colorado, as we talked about, and he was wherever he was exactly when we did the interview, it was in a kind of very mountainous part of the region, and the internet wasn't great. And so when we went to download the interview, it was barely downloading. So with apologies, we said, Joe, would you mind just hanging in there, staying with us, just so we could download it? It ended up taking about 45 minutes, which, again, never happens. This is the first time it ever. Usually it takes a minute, less. Sometimes it's done 2 seconds after we're done with the interview. And Joe, after that interview I did with him, stuck on the phone with myself and my producer, Z, and we just chatted for like 45 minutes off the air. He drove home, and then when he got home, he got on his Wi-Fi, and it just finished downloading in just a minute or two. But a lot of guests would not have done that, and we were embarrassed to have to ask him to hang on there, but he was so nice. And he made it seem like it wasn't even a big deal. I mean, he's like, I'm not doing anything anyway. So he's driving home. We're talking to him while he's driving. He couldn't have been nicer. And Joe, I talked to Joe off the air, and he's looking to do a little more media. And so I think we'll have Joe back, and Joe's going to be on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show down the line as well. So thanks to Joe for doing that. All right, let's switch gears and talk some hoops. Game 5 tonight. You see the Cavaliers, despite being down 3-1, are an 8-point favorite. They'll be back home here in Cleveland tonight. Most of us, myself included, think after the pathetic performance in Game 4, the frustration, the anger, the depression, that the Cavs are going to lose this series. And do I think they're going to win 3 in a row? No. You never think a team's going to win 3 in a row, realistically, except for Dustin in the NBA Finals against the Warriors. But I think they're going to win tonight. I do. I maybe I'm crazy for having any faith in them at all, and I think they're going to lose game. I think they're going to win tonight and then lose, and then give us hope that they can make this rally, and then they'll lose Game 6 in Indiana. I hope I'm wrong about that too, and they can shock us all. Because if the Cavs come back and win the series, who knows, right? The Knicks are about to beat the Celtics. Jason Tatum out, probably tore his Achilles. Who the hell knows? Pacers are obviously now, as you see, an overwhelming favorite to win this series at minus 335. But the Cavs win tonight. Crazier things have happened. I'm going to stay away from the line personally, because I think the Cavs will win a relatively close game and just kind of pull it out at the end. I think it's going to end around that number. I might be nuts for having any faith in the Cavs at all. But I like the Cavs at home, so we'll see. But it's hard to get too excited about this game. I mean, had they won Game 4 and the way they played, they did anything but. I mean, played the worst first half you could possibly play. Had they won that game, there'd be so much excitement heading to this game tonight, where the expectation would be that the Cavs would win and maybe blow them out and take complete command of the series. But it's hard to feel that way right now. So we watch, we hope, we see what happens. This East has been crazy all year. We've been talking about Boston, Cleveland, Boston, Cleveland, Boston, Cleveland, and now both teams are on the verge of elimination. Their best player, Jason Tatum, is out again. Looked like a torn Achilles. We'll see. You see there Donovan Mitchell's status. He's a game time decision. I'd be shocked if Donovan Mitchell doesn't play. If he doesn't, then maybe I change my mind about them winning tonight. I think they might win anyway. Just a weird, it's the ebbs and flows of a series. And we'll see what kind of, shape Donovan's in. I just would be stunned if Donovan doesn't play in this game. I mean, he's been such a warrior. He's the one guy, you could give credit for. I mean, most of the rest of it's been a mess. So Finally, the Guardians, after two ugly losses on Saturday and Sunday to Philadelphia, had a nice win yesterday against Freddie Garcia and the Brewers. Freddie Garcia, one of the best pitchers in the National League. Freddie Peralta. What the hell am I talking about Freddie Garcia? Freddie Garcia hasn't pitched in years. Guardians taking care of business against him. No homers, but 5 runs on 7 hits. They got helped by Jackson Churio misplaying that ball in the 4th inning. Gabriel Arias had another good game, 2 for 4, had the 3 ribbies, and he was the one who, he got a hit at that double on the bad defense. It goes as a double. Churio really took a bad angle. Probably should have made that play, but nonetheless, it's the 8th double of the year for Gabriel Arias, who knocked in 3 of the 5 runs. Jose Ramirez was 1 for 2, 2 walks and 2 runs scored. He stole 3 bases in the game. Guardians stole 5 bases in this one. They were running wild. Brewers have had trouble stopping base runners. So Guardians win 5-1, 5-0. They improved to 24-17 on the season, and you already faced the Brewers' best pitcher. So today they'll play again at 6:00. It'll be Quinn Priester for the Brewers against Logan Allen. And then the third game is in the afternoon. It's a 1:10 start. Gavin Williams is coming off a really good start last time out, or not very efficient, but a lot of strikeouts, didn't give up the runs. He got out a bunch of jams against undecided from Milwaukee. Jose Quintana was supposed to pitch on Wednesday. His start's been pushed back. There was a thought that Brandon Woodruff, who's been out for a year and a half almost, would come off the IL and make the start. That's not happening either. So looks like the Brewers could go with a bullpen game on Wednesday. We'll see. But, again, good win yesterday. Ben Lively did leave the game early, so we'll keep an eye on his status. Guardians start today, 7 games over 500, tied with the Yankees for the second-best record in the American League. 2.5 game, tied with the Yankees and the Royals. The Royals have a slightly lower winning percentage than the Guardians, but both teams 7 over 500. Tigers lead the division, 2.5 up on both the Guardians and the Royals. Twins 5.5 back. All 4 teams won yesterday, and all 5, including the White Sox. Twins have won 8 in a row, which is unbelievable. Meanwhile, another wild story in baseball, the Colorado Rockies, 1 year after the White Sox broke the record for the worst record in baseball, the Rockies are threatening to break it again 1 year later. They lost yesterday. They're 7-34. Way worse than the White Sox were at this time of the year. They're on pace to win 27 games, which is insane. They're 20 games out of first on May 13th. 20. That's just batshit. And their run differential is a negative 129. So anyway, still you'd like to know that. All right. Thanks for joining me as always. Thanks to Joe Schobert for joining me. Thanks to all of you for joining me. Thanks to Z and Max for producing. I'll talk to you next time. Where else but right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers. Join me tonight after the game when the Cavs play the Pacers. I'll be on live immediately following the game. Hopefully it's not a funeral. Hopefully it's a rebound and we can get ourselves excited for the possibility of a crazy comeback in the series. See you, everybody.